Gravity Cast.
Welcome to World Building Wednesdays, episode 8, where we're going to talk about fantasy food trucks in the form of wagons. All right. Everybody that's tuning in, go ahead and say hi so I know you're here. There's Biku. Hello. How you doing this week? Go ahead and get my glove on here. I think it's inside out, and that's not going to help. Hey there, Red Fox. How's it going? Still alive? That's good. Because if you weren't, I'd be concerned at who's typing. Cool. So, we're going to be talking about some of the wagon designs today, but I did want to show you guys one thing here. I had dropped some of that artwork on one of the cards, and I just wanted to see what it would look like on one of the actual adventure cards. So here is the Abyss of Sil Haldoon. This is just kind of a mock-up card. I'm not really sure if this is going to be what's actually going to make it in the game, but came along pretty nice, and I think the level of detail is pretty good for the size of what's going to be on the card. So yeah, I think it turned out pretty well, so thanks for your help, everyone. I think this was pretty cool design, and I think you can definitely see like some of the cool things that you guys contributed, like the star charts and the stuff on the sides, the murals, all that stuff is pretty visible. I mean, even when it gets to be card size, I think it'll all still be pretty visible, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. So, with that said, I wanted to take a look at the wagons. So, this game is about cooking a legendary stew. So you have to go around and find ingredients, and you basically have this wagon that your adventurers take around. And that's where you store all your loot, and that's kind of where your tired adventurers go to rest. And you can also serve food off of the wagon, so it is kind of like a fantasy food truck kind of situation. So, and these are all owned by different taverns that all have different looks. So let me go ahead and open up this that I have saved here really quickly. So here are the different banners in the game for the different taverns. So they all have kind of their own different special abilities within the game and have their preference for the type of food that they cook and the heroes that they attract. And obviously they're all going to have their own aesthetic for their tavern and also for the wagon. So this is going to be kind of the first dive into coming up with specific styles for the individual taverns. So the banners are really the only differentiating factor that I have right now, is they just have different colors and they have different icons. But in the game, the actual tavern boards are just concepts things with blocks of color and things. They don't have any detail or anything like that. So this will be a good opportunity to take a look at what we can do for design and style for these guys. So the yellow team here is the Breezy Traveler with the sun with the kind of the wind coming out of it. The blue is the Ethereal Anchor. They're all about toughness and perseverance and like staving off wounds. So they're kind of a defensive kind of thing. The Breezy Traveler, I guess I didn't say, was they're all about movement speed, so they can help get you around the map faster. The one in the center is the Miner's Furlough. That's kind of the dive bar of the taverns. and you can hire patrons that would normally give you penalties because they're not so nice people, but you can hire them here and it won't give you a penalty. So it's kind of like the outlaws and bandits and stuff can come here, which are usually a little bit stronger, but they usually give you penalties for the rest of the teams. The green team is the Tangle Rock, which is all about inventors and intelligence and getting you out of trouble by critical thinking. And the Volca Rose, which are military and hunters and stuff like that. So they kind of have that kind of vibe going on. They're all about fighting, and they get bonuses when they fight monsters. So out of these here, do we have any preference for where we'd want to start here? For which tavern that we would maybe want to start designing for? And just to give you a reminder, which I did show earlier, was this is the really quick sketch that I threw together and just did some paint overs for. So I have it, and it's functional in the game. It has everything in it, but I think it obviously needs to be a little prettier than this. And I also do want to make custom wagons for each one. So Biku is asking to roll the dice and pick from that. I guess being that this is for a board game, that kind of makes sense. So maybe we'll do that. And I actually have a giant die back here, so let me grab that. So I got these dice at a... it was like a craft fair or something. Some guy was making these, so... It's a big old D6. So I'll just re-roll a 1, or excuse me, a 6. All right, we got a 5, which would be the last one that we chose. That would be the Volca Rose, and that kind of rhymed even. So actually I have a bigger die back there that's out of wood, but I don't think I want to roll that. That might cause some damage. So we are going to do the Volca Rose. Get rid of this. So here was some original concept stuff that I did before I started to do any of the drawings or paint overs or anything like that. So that was my original take on this design. About the same time that I was doing this, so I kind of was doing these in tandem, and I just picked this one because it was a little easier to color in, and I just needed something to get done before a play test. But this was kind of the original intent for these. Where we have a wagon where people can sit, the tired people, your adventurers. You can put loot in the back of the wagon, and then in the very back you can actually serve the stew that you have. And this over here on the far right is actually the front view of the wagon. So this was, like I said, this was my original intent, but this is when I was also going to have just one generic wagon, but I don't know if I really want to do that. So I was thinking about doing a little bit of custom embellishment and some things on these wagons. So even if the base of them is the same, that some of like the trim and a few other things would be leaning more towards whatever faction that they kind of represent, which I think is kind of a cool idea. I mean, because if you think about it in real life, like Burger King or whatever, like if they had a food truck, it would all be branded exactly the same, and they would put decals all over it. And I mean, that's kind of what it is. This is like medieval branding. So I wanted to make sure that it kind of was consistent all the way across the board. So I'm going to copy this banner over here, just so we kind of have a reference. And I do have to keep this general layout for this because if you can see here, this slot on the back is for stew recipes that you're cooking. The second one here is where you keep all your loot, and the front here is where you put exhausted heroes. So within the game, whenever you use a hero's special ability, they become exhausted. They basically sit out around, and you need some place to put them that's not in your hand, because your hand is for all of the active heroes. So I just needed a place to throw them on the wagon that they could sit out a turn. And then up here is where you can lay your hand down. There's really nothing up here, but you can lay your hand down just to get it out of your hands when you don't actually need them for adventuring. So the whole board's kind of functional. So all these slots kind of have to stay in the same place, but I have a lot of opportunity to change a lot of the details. So the basics of positions of the wagon, those are going to have to stay. Because like all the wheels will likely have to be in the same spot. Stuff like that. The doors, obviously, because I have to have a front and the back to the wagon, like I probably can't move the doors. So there's a few things that are going to have to stay, but so I'm going to go ahead and grab my mechanical pencil brush. And just so you're aware, I can talk a little bit more about the Volca Rose people, just so you can kind of have an idea of what's going on with these guys. I guess I can pull up a few cards here and a few other things for these guys. So here's the heroes for this tavern that you can start with. So here's Lulu the Huntress. She's one of the Volca Rose heroes. So you get to start with your hero of choice that has this banner on it. And the other one just goes back into the deck, so you can hire them if you want, or somebody else can hire them. So you can see she's a hunter. She's got a giant bow here. And she's actually wearing some animal hide here a little bit. That's actually from a Sarjak, which is kind of like a wolf thing, which I know we haven't talked about yet. And here's also the other guy, Garok the Crusher. So you can see kind of that fantasy paisley looking squirrel stuff in his armor. Giant axes are always cool. So we have hunters and warriors and soldiers and that kind of stuff. And you can build tavern expansions for these guys as well that have to do with similar things. I don't really have any art for these at this point. They're just kind of blocked out. Eventually these will all have art inside of them. So they have an expansion that's the Butcher's Quarters. So if you bring in monsters, you can get more meat out of them. The Hunter's Hall, that you can seat people that are good at fighting, and you'll get more money out of them. And then the Trophy Room, where you can actually stuff monsters. And you can also display relics that you find, and you'll get bonuses for people coming in to look at those. So you can see like the whole tavern is built around monsters and fighting and showing that off. So and I thought that this icon kind of represented that a little bit. Not sure why my panning is going crazy. Let me do it with my pen here. That's better. So all that stuff makes sense. I know, like, that's a whole bunch of stuff to throw at you, but that's kind of the Volca Rose in a hole there, and they kind of have specific meals, kind of like the background music. I'm not actually sure what today is. I think it's I think it might be Suikoden for PlayStation 1, maybe. I can't remember. Which is a really cool game. That's how you say it. I think there's like a 20-year debate on how you're supposed to pronounce that game name. Obviously, you don't have to remember any of this stuff for what we're doing. I'm just kind of giving you some background on where my head was when I was putting this stuff together. I mean, all you really need to know is these guys are about fighting and strength and that kind of stuff. So the icon that I chose, the banner, even the outline of the banner here, you can see very pointy edges here, and then there's also some fire in there, which is kind of dangerous kind of thing. There's a lot of points in there, so it's not very soft and inviting. It's kind of more on edge and dangerous. That meets the clientele pretty well, so I think that fit pretty well for these guys. So make some new layers here. I think I'll keep this layer for notes. So like I said, I'm probably not going to move around the wheels a whole lot, but I can start to play around with a few things. And I'm also trying to figure out in general general placement of things. Like I can change up a lot of different things, like the roof and some things like that. So you can see that based on the brand that I have down here, I'm probably going to do a lot more hard edge things and not so much round stuff in here, just to kind of make it fit a little bit better for the brand. So in my example, I do have a curved roof, but probably am not going to do that in the final. So I'm just going to start doing some sketches here. So I might just do a slanted roof. So a lot of these other dimensions are probably going to have to stay pretty close to the same. So I might have to move things around a little bit. Not sure if I want to do a full point on this or not. I know that this is supposed to have some hard edges, but I'm not sure if I want to do that. I might be able to even do something that kind of has a double roof point, so it will kind of match the banner even a little bit, at least subtly. I don't know. I mean, obviously none of this is very practical, so I'm really going to style over substance here for sure. Because my first iteration of the wagon didn't go so well because I drew... I wonder if I can pull that up just so you can see some of those things. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put a background layer on this for you so you can actually see it. So I think this is kind of the one that I used for the one that I ended up coloring in, but I ended up flipping everything around and just did a quick paint over. So I actually, the wagons are pulled by terracins, which are kind of those giant dinosaur chicken things I talked about. And then I had the stew cart, and then I had the wagon with all the people, which ended up not, from a practical standpoint, wouldn't be super great, because if you had it, you probably wouldn't want an animal that's that large that close to the soup for probably obvious reasons. So I ended up flipping those around. So there's a little bit of practicality that I try to put into these, but I don't want to go super crazy. Like, I'm not going to actually have to build this. Yeah, road apples will probably add something, but not anything you want in a soup. Oh, I wonder why I wasn't drawing here. It would really help if I would not try to draw with white. So the art style for all these is very, very decorative. Not maybe quite as much as, you know, Victorian or something like that. I don't really want to put that much detail into these. I'm trying to keep it, the aesthetic somewhat simple. So I don't want to be like overly ornate with everything. So I think that would be kind of a cool compromise to do that. And maybe those risers are actually not all the way across. So if the roof was something like that, that maybe that that riser wouldn't go the whole way, and maybe that's got like a window or something in it to let light in or something. So that way we can kind of simulate that shape from the front, but we don't have to be completely stuck to that design. I don't know. So it's either that, or we would basically do this shape all the way across. You have any thoughts on that roof style, like how you would want that to look? I guess the other thing I need to take into consideration is the actual height of the cards. I'm kind of constrained right now to basically this, so I do need to be cognizant of the actual real estate that I have. So even when I'm doing this concept, I might be further along to just use this one here because it's got these lines in it, and I could just kind of draw all over top of these. Because if I go make a super high pointy roof and it doesn't fit on the card, then I'm kind of wasting my time. So I'm going to go ahead and make some background stuff here so I'm not drawing on transparent. And then I will save this. Bring over my banner here just for fun. Conveniently way off the top of the map. There we go. Alright, so I think I'll probably just end up using this one for placement. That way that I don't have to worry about this so much. And I don't know if I want... you can see there's a guy here that's kind of riding this terrakin. I also did another concept of the wagon, and I actually started to add some dimension to this one. And there was a spot at the front of the wagon here where a person could stand. And then there were two of those terracins with actually the banner for the tavern that could be on there, which I thought was kind of cool. So I think I might try something like that. I like the idea of having the two terracins, and it feels more like a horse and buggy kind of thing rather than them riding it. I don't know, you guys have any thoughts on like this kind of setup where there's a person there kind of with the reins that's kind of steering the thing, kind of like a regular horse and buggy thing? Or do we like the idea of the person riding on him and kind of steering him from that way? The rider fits with the warrior dynamic? Yeah, I think so. And I can change this up every time. I mean, I think, like I said, the basic kind of layout of the wagon has to stay the same just for functional reasons of the board game. But that doesn't mean that I can't change this up too. So we can definitely keep the rider here. So that means I can change up how the wagon is laid out a little bit, because I don't have to worry so much about a front spot up here with a place to stand. That can just be more room for people. So I'm just kind of block this out a little bit. So I got a room for a door here. So what did you guys think about that roof that we were kind of talking about here? Do we like the idea of having this kind of pointed roof that's kind of got the 3 points that matches this? And do we want it to go all the way across, or can it just be like a little window kind of thing? Like I've seen that on like houses before, where they have like in the roof they have like these things that just kind of come out and there's like a window in them. Gonna get rid of some of these I'm not really using here at this point. Yeah, we can try the all the way across. I'm just roughing out where the rider is going to go because I might move him around a little bit. I'm going to have to try to keep in mind the three-dimensional space on this. So, I guess for now, while I'm not drawing the back part, I'll draw the front view. Get rid of the rider here. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it come to a point and fit on the page here, so might have to make some compromises on the angles and stuff here a little bit. If that's kind of as high as we can go. Alright, so just trying to get some rough shapes in here just to see where the center might be and to see how much space I'm going to have. I'm going to have the door that goes all the way up here. I'm thinking that this is kind of skinny, so we might have to end up stretching this out. If this is the center, it's not going to have a lot of room on the inside here. It's like the door ends up landing there. It's going to get pretty skinny on the inside, so I think we're going to have to move that over a little bit for where the center point is, which is fine because it doesn't really matter how wide it is necessarily. But I do have to keep in mind, like, I do have a reference to go off of here for a person that's in the scene, so it kind of does need to make sense a little bit. So there's my person for a reference. And a lot of the design style, it's kind of like stubby and wide, which kind of matches that old Dragon Quest, Dragon Ball style a little bit. So I don't really mind that at all. Get rid of the banner here for now. Alright, so that's basically what it would look like then, and I probably will have some kind of thing in the center here that will go all the way across. So you kind of like the flat roof. I think it works out pretty well. I might change the angle that some of these points come out. I think they're maybe a little on the steep side. I would not want to be building this thing in medieval times. That would be a heck of a job. This is not the Model T of wagons. This is like the Cadillac. It's a pretty low door, actually, so maybe we'll move that down or up a little bit. I guess I could always make that a double door that swings out. It's got the peak in the middle. That might work. We're not going to see a lot of the front here anyway, so much, so. Alright, so carry these lines over to the side and see how they look. So there's the top of that point that goes across. Yeah, I think I do like the idea of adding some kind of decorative thing that kind of goes along the center. Might have to make this back flat a little bit to make that work. Have that embellishment that curls in the back, or I actually just ditch it on the back in favor of the slant, which I kind of do like. It makes it look a little more sleek and edgy kind of thing, which is what these guys are about. So the more kind of angles and hard edges I can get in this, probably the better. Got to put some windows in here. I think it'd be cool to do some windows like this. Although that might be getting into much of the territory of those other guys that we talked about. The Tangle Rock actually have that shape. So the green guys there, they actually have that kind of shape for theirs. So maybe I'll stay away from that and use that on theirs. It might make a little more sense. I wonder if I can invert that or something. I don't know. I don't have to be super literal with these. I'm just trying to get some low-hanging fruit, you know, for some of the design language that we can use. But if it's not working, like, I don't want to try to force it. Just to do that, probably not worth it. Just kind of seems like if I bring my little dude back here for reference, he's kind of hiding out there, so I'll drag him over. Totally like duff his head on this getting in here. Like even if the door goes up underneath a little bit, which it really doesn't seem like it's going to go that much further up there, that's probably not going to work. And I know this doesn't need to be like super physically accurate, but I mean, it's also going to bother me a whole lot. Like if it's not even remotely going to have a person be able to step in it. So I'm probably going to have to alter the height of this a little bit. which is fine because then I have a little more room to play with on the door, which I kind of felt was a little bit too close to the roof anyway, so that's probably going to work out a little bit better. So I can bring a lot of this stuff down, I think. I think that's really kind of competing here, these angles. I might try to go back to my other door design that I had for this. Just to see what it would look like. So I guess I do have a little bit of rounds here. I mean, I have the actual rows in there and the flames, which do have a little bit of roundness to them. So I don't need to go super crazy on the edges, but I do want to have a lot of them. So that might be a good compromise. I definitely don't want round ones. That's not going to work for these guys. So I might just square them off like they originally were and save the crazier shapes for the ones that it fits really well on. So here maybe at about shoulder height, I'm going to cut the windows off. Oops, that needs to go all the way across. Alright, so here'd be some windows. Well, I'm definitely drawing on the wrong layer there. Let's not do that. Trying to think of how crazy we want to get with the side of this. You know, like we have these flame things. Like, I don't know if we want to go like completely hot rod and put flames on the side of this, or something like that. I mean, there's no rules at this point. I mean, the game is on the lighter hearted side of things, except when we got super dark when we were chopping that squid up. But hey, you know. So I mean, there could be some flame things here. Kind of would want them to match if I was going to do that. So I might make a new layer and just go for it. Well, it's not pretty, but it works. Yeah, I think it's kind of cool. I mean, it's super quirky, right? I mean, it's basically like hot rod wagon stuff, but I mean, these are the people that would be building hot rods if this was the 50s. These are the This is the Danny Zuko's building grease lightning type of people. So I think I'm going to try to... I do want to make these kind of, you know, I'm trying to find a balance between how much detail actually goes into this. So I want to try to carry some of that detail across the whole thing here and find a way that I can maybe work some of that fantasy paisley stuff in here. I'm not sure if I can. When we get to the ethereal anchor, whether we do that on here or not, I'm probably going to do something similar to that. So I guess this isn't completely unprecedented because show you this person here. She's also one of the heroes. So this is Captain Zelna. She's for the ethereal anchor, so the blue team. So you can kind of see, like, in her robe down here, that's kind of, might be kind of small. Hopefully you can see that. I kind of modified the fantasy paisley to be kind of like water and swirls, so it looks like, you know, that it matches. They're kind of obviously the ethereal anchor has a lot of water themed stuff going on there. A lot of the people like to eat fish, so and you can even see that in her hat a little bit if I bring that down here. So all the details underneath that, it looks like waves and stuff. So I didn't really do like a fire theme for any of the heroes, but that doesn't mean I can't do something on here. But I do have to keep in mind, like, this is still going to be built like out of wood and stuff, so I'll probably put like the paneling on here. Smoke or fire version of the pattern might fit well with the flame decal. Yeah, I'm trying to think of how. I was thinking maybe that I could do like that underneath here. So we have this kind of fire separator that I'll probably end up like making a different color than the rest of this. But then underneath of this, maybe I can do like that fantasy paisley stuff. But then maybe that's like the smoke. So it kind of looks like it's kind of rolling through here. underneath. And those are all going to be like red themed and stuff like that. So the panels or the planks for the roof of this. Being super scientific here. This doesn't matter as much. When I go through and ink this, obviously I'll space this out a little bit better. So. I think maybe thematically this back window here. This is where all the loot is stored. So like the stuff that you capture from fighting monsters or finding relics or whatever, that's in the back here. So I'll probably put some kind of like bars across it. So putting the base on here. Let's see. This is kind of matching up pretty close to where the original wheels were, and I don't necessarily have to keep them there, but it seemed to work out pretty well. Some little steps on there. I think I'm going to try something here. Kind of started to do this on the other one, and I thought it was kind of cool because there really wasn't a lot of space back here for the loot. So on this other wagon that I started, you can't really see it because I have a cover up with wheels, but let's see if I can turn that off. Yeah, so I have like a treasure chest back here that's just kind of like stuck to the back. They used to kind of do that with the old school stagecoaches. They would have the like the Wells Fargo transporting the money things to the bank. They would have the safes attached to that, so it's kind of like that kind of feel. I thought that was kind of cool. So I think I do like that idea to put kind of like a treasure chest back here where you would like lock stuff in if you didn't have room for it. Alright, so some of the other things that we need to have in here to fit would be the back here with the stew. I'm really not going to be able to change this back here a whole lot. It has to fit in a very small space. I kind of had like some kind of little pavilion thing that sits back here. And in this version, I had some... You turn up the opacity a little bit there, you can see like there was some firewood sitting back here because it was like obviously a wood burning stove here to heat up the stew and keep it hot. So all those like little touches like that just make it feel like it's real and it's lived in and that it could possibly exist. Yeah, I guess if I remember right, I took the curve off of that for a reason. Because chances are, like, if you have a food truck, right, you need to be able to come up to somewhere or another to be able to serve the food. So I made it so in this particular wagon, you could actually walk up straight to the back. I think there might have been that first one that we were looking at. Maybe was better, yeah. So, like, there was actually a person back here, like, leaning down and serving stew. There was a person here that was kind of, like, stirring it, and I could put a spot over here for a stack of firewood, and that would be fine. So I actually do like this layout a little bit better. It makes a little more sense. So, and that gets rid of the wheel in the back and moves the wheel here to the center, which is fine. And it looks like I moved the wood stuff from here in the center, which would make more sense because it would probably be on the side with the people, like the front or the back. So I probably wouldn't do that. That doesn't really make a lot of sense from a functional standpoint. So here's another opportunity with this roof to add some kind of matching design patterns to this. So I'll make the angle match this inside angle, and then I'll make this kind of curled embellishment match the front one here, so it'll hang down. That might be kind of interesting. And then I'll match the same roof style. Bring over our little dude here that we drew to make sure that we're at least marginally in the ballpark for how this thing is going to function. And it looks like we might need to gain a little vertical space here so these people like aren't hitting their head on everything. So I think that might work out better anyway. I think these wheels are actually pretty nice over here that I did already, so I might go ahead and steal these if I can, since I already have them drawn. Like expertly named layer 2 and layer 4, so those will be easy to find. I'm not sure what's up with this layer that is huge, but I'm only using a piece of it, so maybe we will delete some of that. Forget how to use these new Photoshop tool things now. They've changed how the handles work in CC 2020. I forgot it automatically constrains it to proportional. It didn't used to do that, so I always messed up. Alright, so there's stole my wheels. Can probably reuse this other small wheel for the front too. Yeah, I hate when they update stuff like that, because it just doesn't seem like there's a good reason for it. I'm sure it's probably would have been faster if they would have just done it like that originally, because instead of having non-proportional editing by default, which you hardly ever do, unless you actually want to do that. So you'd think it would have been the other way around from the beginning. So now I've learned to do it the wrong way. Thanks, Adobe. All right, so doesn't look too bad. I think we got some good spacing on here. I think we got a good start for this guy. All right. What do you think? Should we try to do some, throw some color on this here before we call it a night? Can do some basic color design stuff and see what we come up with. Alright, so I just took that sketch layer, grouped those, and then I'd set it to multiply, so at least it'll get a little darker if we put some color underneath of it. So I'm going to just grab a layer here. I'm definitely going to switch my brush. Something a little bit more conducive to painting larger areas here. And if you remember the Vocal Rose here, we do have a color palette for this already, so let me go ahead and get that banner out of that folder. It's not really part of the sketch anyway. So we kind of have some basic colors to work with, or at least that we know that we want to work into this, at least as kind of standard colors that we want to use. Obviously there's going to be some wood and some other things on here as well, but so if I pull straight from the banner color here, you can see that the fire color is already set. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and I'm going to use that as the fire color on the side here. And I'm just going to roughly block these in. I'm really not going for precision or anything like that, so it's not going to be pretty. And when I do this at first go around, I typically don't worry too much about following in the lines. I just want to kind of zoom back out and see what I'm working with. So I know we have a lot of the bright red here. I'm not real sure that I want to try to do that kind of underneath the smoke or not. I'm not sure that'll look very good. I mean, I can try it, see what you guys think. But I'm really not sure if we want to try that or not, or if we want to keep that more into the like warm gray or something like that so it looks more like smoke. I don't know. Might be cool though. And we also would have to figure out some colors for the rest of this as well. So there's some basic framing on here. Does feel like it could clash maybe. I guess that's why I'm throwing this stuff on here, because it's easy to fix now. So you're thinking maybe the red on the roof? I mean, we might be able to go with some gray or something like that underneath here. I don't know. So there's some more natural colors down here, so it's more straight wood, and then we're using the red as the major roof color. I don't know. It's not looking bad. It's definitely very certain Golden Arches type of branding. I'm just filling in some of these other things that I know they're going to be solid colors, and probably this is like a lot of the color that I use for wood, so it's likely going to be this. Yeah, I don't know if that banner is actually going to stay there for sure. That was just me throwing that in there. The banner's probably going to be up front somewhere, like here maybe. I don't know. I never really thought about where the banner is going to be. In the game, I always envisioned like your main hero kind of carrying that banner around. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Banner Saga or played that before, kind of like that. Like up in the front, kind of waving a little bit. Probably throw a few more of these together, and then I'll probably wrap this up here in about 9:30 or so. Just filling in some of the larger blocks of color just so I can take care of that stuff. Be a few metal things on here, so we'll make sure that we can kind of represent some of those as well. Might even be able to work in some more of that flame color into some of the other trim on the here. So maybe this is not wood color up here, so maybe that we keep on the orange color for the fire. Add some little bit of depth to this. All right. So we think this is turning out so far. We happy with this, or should we try some different things here? All right. Not real sure what's going on here with the door yet, but I guess I really haven't drawn any of that stuff on here, so. So Red Fox, you think it looks good? You're not really an artist, though. Well, that doesn't necessarily matter. I think we all inherently know if something looks good or bad. You may not know why. And I think that's somebody that's trained could probably tell you why. But, I mean, I think generally everybody knows if something looks terrible. So maybe I can add some more of that pattern in the door a little bit, maybe. There probably would be some kind of window here. No, I don't know if I'm a big fan of the dark door there, if I should just keep that wood color going on. So I might have to mess around with that a little bit, but probably do a couple more things here and probably call it a night. There we go. It does keep it a little lighter, maybe, instead of having the super dark door. Maybe I can have green curtains for the rose part. I don't know. Could be terrible. Alright, I think that's probably a good place to stop on here for now. I think that's where we'll probably pick up next time. I might fill in the front for color just to take a look at it, or actually might ditch it all together on the front view because I'll need to fill in where that rider sits and everything. So, but I think we made some pretty good progress on this, and I think it's fallen in line with what this brand might have as a banner, because the banner would be out here somewhere, probably even bigger than that. So it might actually match pretty well where we have all the red up really high then, so it all kind of flows on the top. So I might go with this and give it a shot. I don't know if I'm a big fan of the green curtains. I was just trying to work in some of the colors from that, but that might be a bit much. But overall, I think I'm pretty happy with this, and it sounds like you guys were too. So I want to thank everybody again for stopping by and that were contributing to the design. So Biku and Red Fox, thank you for showing up and giving a lot of the feedback here today. So yeah, I'm really happy with this and how it's coming along. So hope you guys have a great rest of your week and keep creating. Thanks again.